like a rock. I was strong as I could be, like a rock. Nothing ever got to me, like a rock. I was something to see, like a rock. Hey everybody, I'm Paulie G. Welcome back to the Paulie G Show, coming to you live from high atop Mount Georgia. How are you all doing? It's been far too long since I've had an opportunity to speak with you. But, you know, like yourselves, life is busy. And I don't always find the time to be able to make videos. But I'm certainly glad to be here with you today. And I want to thank you all for tuning in, first and foremost. Before I get started on the topic of today, just a couple of quick updates since my last videos. You've probably heard or read, for those of you that are familiar with the Sam Ash chain, all of the Sam Ash stores are closing. They are officially going out of business after 100 years in service. So it's quite a testament that they made it 100 years, but you know, I feel like it's a sign of the times here, you know, and I wonder what that means, good or bad, for Guitar Center. My feeling is they're kind of headed in the same direction. I wouldn't be surprised to hear that pretty soon they'll be closing up some stores. They have a lot of stores open, so we'll see about that. But it's kind of strange because when the big box stores came along, and I don't know if you call Sam Ash really a big box store. They're much smaller than Guitar Center, but you know, it wiped out all of the local shops that I used to frequent, and now they themselves are going out of business. So I don't know what that means for the future state, but it just seems like it's an internet world now, you know. Which kind of leads me to my next topic, which is I recently made a video predicting the fall of guitar prices, and you will see, interestingly, that Gibson, who is now selling direct, by the way, cutting some of their dealers out, is starting to lower their retail prices. Most notably, I saw on the Les Pauls, they've reduced the price by $200 here in the 2024 models. Now, that's not a huge decrease, but what does it tell you? The graph has topped and is starting to come down, and I think it's an indication that, you know, the market is really saturated and inventory isn't moving anywhere near as quickly as they need it to. So they're going to have to start, you know, doing some things to increase sales. And I think lowering prices is the first step in that. So anyway, all that aside, let's talk about the subject matter at hand. So speaking of work and travel and things like that, I've had been doing a lot of travel earlier this spring, and a few weeks ago, I was flying home. It was a very late flight coming home from a very exhausting trip. And I deboarded the plane and took my phone and turned it off of airplane mode to, you know, see what messages awaited. And among the various messages was a comment on one of my Jumbo Shootout videos that said that the Gibson J100 is not, with capital letters N-O-T, a solid maple back and sides guitar. To which I responded, wait, what?
What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about, Willis?
And, you know, I was a little bristled by it, I'll be honest with you. But again, I was very tired, very hungry. I was hangry. That's not a good combination for Paulie G. When I'm hangry, I don't have a lot of patience. So, but I quickly replied and just said, all due respect, my J100 Extra is solid maple back and sides. I got a very quick reply back before I even made it to my car. That a couple of comments that he provided that said that Gibson stopped using solid maple on their jumbos back in the 50s because they were having issues with cracking, and they found the manufacturing process to be more, amenable, something to that effect. And I'll be honest with you, and I'm here to apologize. I replied maybe a little bit tersely, but again, I was very tired, and I just wasn't very patient, and I might have replied, a little more tersely than I should have. And so for that, I really do apologize to that individual and anyone else that may have read the comments. I should probably go in and just delete my comments, but maybe I'll do that later. But anyway, the next morning after a good night's sleep, which is always a good thing to get, right? I started to think about what had transpired, and it had occurred to me that, what do I really know about this? Why was I so sure that these were solid maple back and sides?
You don't know what you're talking about.
I'm a scientist by trade, so my job is to not make assumptions, but to gather facts and information and base my, thought process on those. And the worst thing that a scientist in particular can do is operate on assumptions and, not take in outside information. So, it was interesting because it made me look at it from a different approach. So the first thing I did when I got home is, looked at the guitar very carefully. And, one of the reasons that I was fairly sure that this is a solid maple back and sides was that the grain on the inside, on both the back and the sides, identically matches the outside. So that's a key indicator for me that it's solid maple, aside from the fact that I'm pretty sure Gibson was using solid maple back and sides on these. But, I didn't want to stop there because he had sort of mentioned that all jumbos, so that would include, J200s, or J200s made of laminate. So I thought, I need to look into this a little more carefully. And how would I go about doing that? And one of the things that the commenter mentioned was that notice how the ad says maple back and sides, not solid maple back and sides. So I looked at the Gibson websites, and he is correct, or this individual is correct, that it doesn't say solid maple back and sides, but it also doesn't say solid Sitka spruce top. It just says Sitka spruce. So I think some things are just self-explanatory. And when you're paying the kind of money that you pay for these extraordinary guitars, there's a certain level of expectation in terms of quality. And you may not necessarily have to say that it's solid maple, Whereas an imported guitar, if it was solid maple, boy, they'd be bragging about that, all the way through the ad. But anyway, that was just the first data point I had. The next thing I thought of was that I do have a friend who has worked at Gibson for approximately 30 years, not as a luthier or a guitar builder, but nevertheless has strong contacts within Gibson. And I reached out to him and I said, hey, would it be possible for you to contact your friend and ask him if he can find out what he knows, what they know about the Bozeman, Montana factory, and are they using solid maple for, the jumbo guitars? And after a brief period, he did reply, thanks, Rich, if you're watching, I appreciate that very much. Contacted me back and said that, yes, his sources tell him that they are, in fact, solid maple back and sides. But still in all, that's still some good data points, but let me write to Gibson directly and see what they have to say on this matter. And so I wrote them a message explaining the basis for my question. And they replied back, and I'll share the email here with you. But, the reply may not make a lot of sense. You have to understand the context of the question and how I phrased it. But where it states that this is in fact incorrect, what he's saying is that the supposition that they were laminated or that Gibson had switched over to laminated is not correct. They are using solid maple back and sides. Now, the follow-up comment that he said that most Gibsons are made of solid maple, I'm not sure exactly what that means. As far as I know, there's no Gibsons USAs that are made of laminate maple, but that's maybe for another time and another subject. So that gave me a lot of confidence in my original position that I was sure that these gorgeous guitars, which are, among my most cherished possessions, are, what I believe them to be, which is solid maple. And then I started to wonder, well, what was the basis for this comment? Where did this information come from? So I started phrasing questions in various internet searches, or, are J200 Gibsons made of laminate and things like that. And where it led me was some guitar forums. Now, guitar forums are a great thing. The internet is a great thing. It's a great place to exchange information. But it's not always 100% accurate information. A lot of it is folks that have heard something or think something and may not necessarily have the direct knowledge, but they state it as though they do. And I read some comments in a couple of guitar forums that said that, Gibson in the 50s started tinkering with laminate back and sides and maple because they were having some issues with cracking on the super jumbo guitars. And that was interesting information. And, so I thought about that and I thought, well, okay, sure. They probably tried it, and I wouldn't be surprised if in the 70s and the infamous Norland era of Gibson, that they didn't try to, experiment with laminate maple back and sides in an effort to cut corners and save money, as they did with just about everything else on their guitars. But nothing, was a strong indication that they had completely switched over to laminates. So, I thought about that, and it kind of reminded me, in a way, this whole guitar forum subject reminded me in a way of, in the early years of the internet, and by that I mean the mid-90s, there was a thing called guitar tablature. There may still be, I don't know. But these were folks that were kind enough to take the time to take a song that you might want to learn, and there was sort of a diagram that was used, and they would diagram the fretboard and show you either the chords or the solo notes and string them out for folks to be able to go on there and learn a song that they wanted to learn. So, really appreciative of the folks that took the time to do that. It was a lot of work for folks to do it. But like anything else, these tablatures were not always 100% accurate. It was a person, doing their best job to interpret the song the way they were hearing it. And, there were typographical errors on chords and things like that. But it reminded me of a band I was in at that time, and I was the drummer in that band. And we had a guitar player who, for the purposes of this discussion, we'll call him Fred. Okay, that's not his name, but the names have been changed to protect, the innocent. But Fred just absolutely lived and died by tablature. Like, that was his. To him it was like the Moses coming down from the mount with the tablets with the 10 Commandments on them. I mean, if it was in the tablature, that was it. And there were a couple of songs where he was clearly just playing a completely wrong chord. And, I would say to him on the break, Fred, that's not the chord in the bridge or the chorus. And he would take out the tablature and show it to me. No, look, it's an A. It's an A. I'm like, no, it's not. I mean, it's... Anyway, that was, a funny thing. But anyway, I just make that comparison because there's a lot of great information on the internet. You can even take Wikipedia, for example. Great information, not always 100% accurate. And I think these guitar forums can be sometimes guilty of that. So anyway, that was an interesting experience, but I am now 1000% sure that these beautiful Gibson jumbos that I own, and I'm really, really thrilled to own, are in fact solid maple back and sides.
It's a solid piece.
And another way you can tell, now, for example, on the reverse side of that, this incredible Guild imported jumbo guitar is quite clearly a laminate back and sides. You know, this is not solid maple. It's beautiful, and it's a great sounding and a great playing guitar, but you can tell very clearly by looking at the grain and looking at the inside of the guitar that it's a laminate. And you can also tell, you know, by the price of the guitar, and really most notably by the weight. The other thing that I noticed is that laminate guitars are usually considerably lighter than solid guitars are. So anyway, that was a fun little, you know, learning experience for me, but it taught me, you know, a lesson about, you know, don't make assumptions, you know, get the facts, gather as much data as you can, as I do during my, you know, regular life, and, you know, go from there. So thank you to the person who made that comment. You really, you know, sparked some curiosity in me, and you forced me to do some investigation into something that is, you know, it's an important subject. So now, you know, if and when the day comes and you're able to buy a Gibson Jumbo, a J200 or a J100, I think that, what are they making now? The J200 Studio is the modern day equivalent to what this 2002 J100 Extra is. So, but they are in fact using, you know, solid maple back and sides. So, you know, I guess, you know, that's kind of it for today. I have a lot more content that I'm really excited to make. And now that I'm going to be home for a little while, the summer is just starting up. The weather's beautiful. And I'm looking forward to making some fun, more content for you. So I want to thank you for tuning in. And I guess until next time, I will say that when it comes to Gibson Jumbos, they are solid maple. See you next time.